is brown, every inch of my heart like an open wound. I can't go on, I'll drown if I don't stop the bleeding soon. Where can I find some protection to prevent this ongoing infection? Walking without skin, walking without skin.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Walking Without Skin. Today we're going to be talking about overcoming shame. Hi, I am Lois, your friend for forgiveness from Walking Without Skin. And that piece of music you just heard was written by Steve Seiler from Music for the Soul, and it's all about overcoming trauma. So when we look at shame and guilt, I refer to Dr. Brené Brown. She said that she describes shame as the intensely painful feeling or experience of believing we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. We feel that we are unworthy of love and belonging. Now, we all know that we all make mistakes, and to feel shame is a human emotion. It is just that, it's an emotion, and we all feel it at some point or other. Most of us, though, never ever talk about it because we are ashamed. And when we don't talk about it, this is what gives the shame power. And after we've experienced some kind of trauma, especially something related to sexual abuse, we often feel shame and or guilt. And sometimes the concepts of guilt and shame are used interchangeably to describe how we're feeling. But it's important that we know the difference between shame and guilt. So guilt is feeling bad about what you did, and shame is feeling bad about ourselves as a person. So there's quite distinct differences. I'll go into it in a little bit more detail. Guilt is feeling bad about what we did. We did something bad or evil or unworthy, anything from a lie to theft to cheating on your partner. You did something that's not acceptable. We made a mistake. You took somebody else's side. Maybe you took somebody else's shopping on purpose instead of your own, or even you took it by accident and you didn't return it, and you feel guilty. We blame ourselves for something that happened to us that was not our choice. So we blame ourselves for choosing the wrong partner, for staying with our partner who is abusive to us. We may even talk about taking the wrong job. And with guilt, we may feel remorse or regret. And this can motivate us to make repatriation or to take a new path, to go somewhere different. Shame, on the other hand, as I said, it's feeling bad about ourselves as a person. So it's how we respond to a situation. Maybe you shouted at somebody for doing something fairly insignificant for no real reason, and you were in a bad place, you were in a bad mood, and you shouted at them. Then you feel ashamed because, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I'm not a nice person. Or we do something, we feel we're not good enough. I'm a bad person. I drink too much. I misbehave. I've done so many nasty things to other people. I'm just not good as the next person. I've got so many bad habits, and I feel bad about who I am. So that's important that we look at that as well. Shame is also it's also about when we feel that we are the mistake. We didn't make a mistake, we are the mistake. Oh, I wish I wasn't born. I'm just no good. And we see ourselves incapable of changing, of doing better. We're just not good enough. and we blame ourselves for something that happened to us that wasn't our fault. That that you know, you maybe your husband or your partner, he hit you and you blame yourself because you were nagging him or you didn't do what he asked, so you blame yourself for it. So shame is that voice in your head that says, I knew I'd fail. I'm so useless. I'm just not good enough. I don't really belong. I don't belong here. I don't belong with these people. Who could ever love me? And why can't I be more like that other person? I should be able to do these things that those other people are doing. So after a challenging or fearful event, so after abuse or after some kind of sexual trauma, we may feel deeply ashamed because of how we reacted and what we did in that situation. So it starts, you may feel humiliated. And that is different to shame. If something happens that we feel is not deserved, such as somebody saying something in front of you, saying, oh, you're fat or you're ugly, and you don't feel that you deserve that, you feel him humiliated. It's not shame. It's a different feeling altogether. So I think of a time once when I was young. I used to catch a train, and it was a racing train that went from one station to the other station, and everybody caught the same train every week, so everybody got to know each other. And we I was late one day and I was running down the stairs down to the platform to catch the train. And I was really young. I had a beautiful body. I had a halter top neck with no bra on. And I was running down these stairs and everybody was leaning out the train window saying, come on, run, run, jump, come, come. And I jumped on the train just as the doors were closing. And I looked down and my boobs had popped out of my dress. Well, I was humiliated. I was embarrassed by what had happened. But that is not shame. I was embarrassed. I went and I hid in the toilet in the train the whole way there. I stayed away from the racetrack for the whole day, and then I hid in the toilet coming back because I was embarrassed. But when I thought about it, I thought, who am I to think that I can walk around without a bra, that I can run around with my boobs bobbing around? Then I started feeling shame. I felt ashamed that I had this ego, that I had this thing that my body's so great and that I can just show off my body to other people. And who am I? What do I think I am? And so there was a lot of shame attached to that. So um, shame is also about maybe you don't have an opinion on something, or maybe you don't have knowledge about something, and that can cause shame because you feel useless and you feel unable to keep or to maintain a conversation with somebody, and you feel shame. So the first thing we need to do with shame is to understand and to recognize the triggers, the things that make you do that, those actions and attitudes that lead to shame. So it could be you drink too much, and then when you drink too much, you say things that you don't really mean, and then you feel bad about it. Or maybe you flirt and you're leading somebody on, and then when you get into that sexy situation, you say no, and then you feel ashamed that you led the person on. Or you don't say no, and then you sleep with the person, and then you're feeling really ashamed of what you did. Or you're ashamed of how you dress, or how you tease somebody, or do something that you didn't want to do, but that, or that he didn't want you, or that he wanted you to do. Um, I had a friend once who committed suicide. His girlfriend wouldn't give him a blowjob, and she, first of all, felt guilty because she felt that he killed himself because she wouldn't give him a blowjob. And then she felt ashamed because she was ashamed that she couldn't, she was unable to give a blowjob. Or you did something foolish, like me running to catch that train. That was something foolish. Uh, Giving the wrong information to somebody, incorrect information, and then you're too embarrassed and too ashamed to admit that you made a mistake. or you didn't achieve something, you didn't get the pass mark you wanted in your studies, and you feel ashamed that you didn't study hard enough, you're not good enough. Or you step outside of your comfort zone, you do something that you're really not used to. It could be something sporty, you could be skydiving, and then you make a mistake and you feel bad about it. So it's important that you understand what are your insecurities and what are the things that could lead you to be shame, and then just avoid those things as much as possible. It's also important to recognize the signs that you or other people are feeling shame, feeling uncomfortable. And it's very easy to do that. You don't make eye contact because you're ashamed. You can't make eye contact. Your body is slumped. You fidget a lot because you're feeling ashamed. You've got to think about your thoughts. What are you thinking about yourself? What do you believe about yourself? And then your habits. If you find yourself always criticizing and blaming and finding fault with other people and with yourself, that could lead to shame. So we need to find ways to control our safety by controlling our actions and our beliefs. So the dangers of shame, it leads to anger because you hide your shame behind anger. You don't want people to know that you're ashamed, so you pretend outrage, or you do become angry and you behave badly with anger. You lose a lot of time because you deliberate about it and you think about it and you say, oh, I should have done that, and why didn't I do that, and what kind of a person am I, and you dwell on it for far too long instead of doing something of greater value. You have mood swings, you get depressed, and that is can be very serious. Shame can lead to very deep depression. It can impact on your relationships. Your partner doesn't trust you anymore, you don't trust your partner, you have internal barriers, you don't want to say or do things because you're afraid of the impact of it. And then, worse, you can develop abusive relationships yourself. You become aggressive and you start taking it out, maybe even physically, on somebody close to you. You can start drinking too much, eating too much, taking drugs, get various eating disorders. Could even lead to self-sabotage, where you start cutting yourself, hurting yourself, doing things that you know that are dangerous, and it could even lead to suicide. So why do we experience shame? And really, shame is a defense mechanism. It's designed to keep us safe. And that is why it's so natural and why we must accept it. So when we're faced with an unpleasant or even a dangerous situation, we react using the flight, fight, fawn, freeze, or appease responses, because that is how we are designed to keep ourselves safe. It's a reflexive response. And it's so important to know that at the time, you did the best that you could to keep yourself safe. Whether it was fight, flight, fawn, freeze, or appease, it doesn't really matter. You did the best you could. It was a natural, instinctive response to what you did. It was a reflex. So I look at my situation. When I was attacked from behind. I didn't see or hear him, and he grabbed me from behind. He had his hands around my throat and a screwdriver in my neck. And my first reaction was to scream, and my second reaction was to fight because this was wrong, and I just had that adrenaline rushing through me, and I was going to fight this man. And I fought him hard, but unfortunately he overpowered me. And then I changed my tactic, and I changed my tactic to one of of appeasing him, to say, oh, come on, I'm old enough to be your mother. And I introduced myself, I gave him my name, and I thought, well, that would make him relax and maybe he wouldn't hurt me. And then finally, when he came, they started attacking me with a broken glass in my chest and my stomach. That's when I froze. That is when I actually said, I don't want to die. I would rather go through whatever he's going to put me through, but I don't want him to cut me and bleed to death. And so I then froze, and that is when he raped me. So when I look back at that, was there shame? There was shame because I allowed him. I allowed him to rape me. And I felt really bad about that. And so that shame, it's so important that you understand that it was a natural, safe response. It was a way to protect myself from that terrible ordeal, from dying. And so why feel ashamed? I did the best I could do, and I have nothing to be ashamed of. But it takes you a while to examine those things and to understand. So there are 5 steps that we look at in order to overcome shame. And the first one, it sounds easy, and that is to let go. Let go. Know that the shame is no longer needed. You don't have to protect yourself anymore. You can talk about it, you may get embarrassed by talking about it, but that shame where you feel you have no worth, it's not helping you, it's not serving you. You need to let it go. Remember, it was a defense mechanism, it was a survival tactic at the time. Whatever it is, whatever you did, it was okay. So figure out why. Why do you have these feelings? Look at those feelings, examine those feelings. Where did it come from? How did it make you feel? Where did it make you feel in the body? And who told you? Who said you are not good enough? It's just something that you created in your own mind about not being good enough. Um, think about the situations that tend to make you think that you're stupid, or I couldn't fight. I felt really ill-equipped. I felt I was useless because I didn't know how to fight. uh, Ban those triggers, ban those things that you think, that I mentioned earlier, those things that make you feel that you're not good enough. Get them out of your mind. Maybe you can write them down and then find an opposite statement to overcome that particular feeling. um, and embrace who you are. I always say it all starts with self-awareness. If you know who you are and what your values are, then you're not going to have shame, because you will know what your makeup is and you will be who you are. You won't be trying to be somebody else. Um, and then detach what you do from who you are. So because you did something stupid, you got drunk and you ended up sleeping with the wrong man, you did something stupid. It does not mean that you are stupid. So you need to detach your action from your values and from what you believe in. And just know that you are better than your actions. The second step is self-compassion, and it is something, this is not, again, a linear process. Self-compassion is something we should all be working on every day of our lives. We should love ourselves as we love those close to us. And self-compassion is an awareness of the distress that we are causing ourselves. So we need to embrace who we are. I'm fat, I'm old, I've got wrinkles, I've got bad legs, I use bad language. That's who I am. Embrace who you are. Learn to love who you are. Know that you are human, and create affirmations that say, I'm beautiful, I'm loved, I'm creative, I'm talented. Whatever it is, create those affirmations and include, I am human, because humans make mistakes. I am worthy. Definitely, you are worthy. I am unique. I am creative. I am allowed to feel. And whatever my feelings are, they are valid. Whether it's anger or hatred, at the time, those feelings are valid. I am strong. I am clever. I am capable. I learn from my mistakes. That's a very, very important one. I'm a happy person. I'm brave. I'm confident. And the list goes on. Make a list that is real for you. Put it somewhere where you can see it every day, on your computer, on your phone, on your mirror, and repeat it to yourself as often as you can so that it goes into your subconscious and becomes a reality. And then also notice your body and your body's reactions to the feelings, where in your body it's feeling, how does it feel. It's so important that we work with the body. Somatic activities and therapies help us, and it starts with breathing, where you concentrate on your breathing. And there are so many tips and tools to help you work with your body. Art is one of them. Anything creative falls into that category. The third step is having healthy connections with others. You need to have those friends, those family members. It doesn't have to be hundreds of them, 5 people, even 3 people, but have healthy connections with those people that are important to you. Because shame is a fear of disconnection. And so, if you are connected and you've got a strong relationship, you can talk about your fears with these people, and you can have a healthy relationship, and the shame will have no power over you. And remember that your God, your higher power, whatever it is that you believe in, is also a good connection to have. The fourth step, or the fourth tip, is to talk to a healer, a therapist, a counselor, a coach. Just talk to somebody who knows how to listen. It could just be a friend or a family member, but somebody who can really listen to you without judgment. So again, Dr. Brené Brown, in her book Daring Greatly, she says, the less we talk about shame, the more power it has over our lives. If we cultivate enough awareness about shame to name it and speak to it, we basically cut it off at the knees. So by speaking about shame, we really are just getting rid of it. We are managing it, and we can get on with our lives. So shame that stays hidden, it will continue to grow, and it will become stronger and stronger and more powerful, and you will become weaker and weaker. So just talking about the shame is already de-shaming, because it's out in the open now, it's no longer hidden. And remember again that it's as a result of your reflexive mammalian response. The amygdala hijack, they talk about it, the flight, fight, freeze, fawn or appease. It's all of those reactions. You may feel afraid that people will see how bad you are because of the things that you've done. I remember when I went to the rape crisis, there was a girl who got drunk and she got into a car and she was raped. Well, she just felt that she was totally to blame, and she was so ashamed of her actions. She couldn't even face her family and her friends, and she lived with shame. And I unfortunately lost touch with her, so I'm not quite sure where she landed up. But I'm sure it wasn't anywhere good, because if she just couldn't talk to anybody about what happened. And so it's important that we let people see inside our souls. Let them see what we don't share. And talking it about will help us open our hearts and our souls to people. Um, so acknowledge it. Share your feelings with people that are trusted, who won't judge you, and put that shadow away. Hide that, get rid of that shadow. Bring yourself out into the light. And by acknowledging the shame, we refuse to let it fester or define us. And as Dr. Brown says, when we bury the story, we forever stay the subject of the story. If we own the story, we get to narrate the ending. So I've been able to tell the end of my story because I got rid of all of that shame. So I want you all to write your own ending. And then the fifth and final step is to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for whatever it is you feel you did wrong, whatever you did that you feel ashamed of. Forgive yourself. It's a natural feeling, and it's okay to have that feeling. So those are the 5 steps of overcoming shame. Very briefly, overcoming guilt. It's slightly different. It's about admitting you are wrong. It's about taking responsibility for what you did, apologizing to the other parties, seeking forgiveness from the other parties, and then changing your behavior for the better. So overcoming guilt is very different to overcoming shame. To summarize, shame, let go, self-compassion, healthy connections, talk to someone, and forgive yourself. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you can all overcome your shame. And if you need to talk to me, you can contact me on walkingwithoutskin.com. That is my web page. You can join me there, where you can book a free 30-minute talk with me, where we can discuss where you are on your healing journey. And you can find me on Facebook and on Instagram as well, but I think the web page is probably the easiest and best place to find me. So I invite you all to join me there, and I invite you all to learn to forgive and to fly free. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Raindrops stay, every tear cuts like broken glass. Your violence stalks like a shadow that will not pass. How could I know when it's safer? When every step feels like sandpaper, I'm walking without skin. I'm walking without skin.
And please join me every Monday at 7 a.m. PT time. It's 5 p.m. South African time, and all the times in between, where we can discuss where you are on your journey of healing, and you can find solutions to overcoming the trauma and the problems that you have faced in your life. And the trauma does not have to be sexual trauma. It can be any kind of trauma, from losing a job, a divorce, death of a loved one, a robbery. It could be absolutely anything where you've had to go through some adversity or some challenge that has created an uncomfortable change.
I wanna laugh, I wanna love, I want all the good things life is made of. I won't let you win.